Hey guys, this is Stephanie and I'm Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm coming to you guys with the top 7 of 7 day 3, which is the best audiobooks. We're looking for audiobooks that are a good book but made better by a good narrator. I'm gonna have to take these things off. I feel like I'm yelling. Better. I was super excited when this topic came by because I love audiobooks. I'm constantly reading at least one audiobook at a time. For when I'm driving around town or doing stuff around the house and I can't be reading, I like to listen to audiobooks. So I would say I probably listen to 1 or 2 books a month at least. And so when this topic came up, I was like, oh, that sounds so great. There are definitely some narrators that are so good that I have followed them to listen to other books. But I will say there are some books that a good narrator cannot save. Now again, I'm going to try not to use other books that I've used, but I know I am using books that I have used already. But these are in no particular order, and I am going to start with The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. This is narrated by James Marsters. Now, you may not know who James Marsters is. If you've ever seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's Spike. But he's actually not British in real life. He's American. And so this is his normal voice he reads these with, and he does an amazing job. Like, I didn't even know it was him. I probably listened to the first 3 books before I was like, that's James Marsters? It was fantastic. And I feel like he makes it. And I say this because like the 11th or 12th book, I don't remember which one, was not read by him. It was read by somebody else, and I didn't enjoy that book. And I seriously think it's because it was read by somebody else, because I enjoy his reading and I see Harry Dresden as his voice. Like, I feel like his voice makes Harry Dresden. So I love the Dresden Files, and I think I love it more because I listened to it and he does an incredible job reading it. Basically, this is a book that follows a modern day wizard. So he is a wizard and he lives in, the magical underworld of like fae and vampires and stuff like that. But he has he has an advertisement out in the Yellow Pages. If you're under the age of 25, you probably don't even know what the Yellow Pages are. And the ad says that he is a wizard, but he's not a magician. He doesn't do birthday parties or anything like that. And he doesn't do like rabbits out of the hat and things like that. He's an actual wizard, and of course he doesn't get taken seriously, and he's in the city of Chicago, which is really fun because I've been to Chicago tons of times, and I go there and I'm like, this is Lower Wacker, that's where this happened and that's where this happened, and it's just fun and it's just cool. They are great books, wonderful series, like maybe 15, 16 in the series, I can't quite remember. Next I have Jim Dale, who reads the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I actually think I heard in somebody's video that the British version is read by somebody else. Like, what's his name? The guy, he's tall. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Everybody loves Stephen Fry. That's his name. The books in Great Britain are read by Stephen Fry, but these in America are read by Jim Dale. Now, the first time I read these books, I think I read all 4 books like boom, 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 right in a row. And then I started the 5th book and I got really mad at Harry because he was being such a douche nozzle through most of it. So then I put it down, and we were supposed to go see the 5th movie, and I hadn't finished the 5th book. So I got it on audiobook and I finished listening to it, and I was like, this is amazing. And then I think I listened to the 6th and 7th book as well. And I've read them before, but I'm pretty sure I listened to it, and that's how I found it. Now, I know people don't always like his Hermione, probably my least favorite voice. But the fact that he has an arsenal of 25 voices, I find impressive, and I enjoy it thoroughly, and I like it. And just in case you're wondering, I think these are the British covers. They're so pretty. And this is the 6th book, and that's my favorite one, and that's why I pulled it out. Next one I have is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and this is actually read by Michael Kramer. Now, Michael Kramer does a great job. I think he reads a lot of Sanderson's work, though this is the only one I've listened to, so I don't know if he reads the rest of them. Probably, because he does a pretty incredible job. He does the voices really well. He does the just general narration really well. And this book in particular does switch point of views quite often, so he goes with that. And so I could almost tell whose point of view it's from just by the voice that he's using, which is pretty darn talented as well. I feel like the book was really good and he just made it that much better. Basically, the Final Empire is about a world where specific people can consume metals, and then they will have some magical abilities. So like you drink a little tube of water that has some tin in it, and then you can see really, really well through like fog and mist and stuff like that. Or you can like drink pewter and then you're like extra strong or what have you. Well, a Mistborn, which is the name of the series, not the first book, but the series, can drink all of the metals and have all of the powers. So it's a superhero book. Yay, yay. And they live in a world, of course, where they're downtrodden, and we have the ska, and they are like the workers, and they are ill-treated, and things are bad, and then things happen. I don't want to spoil anything because that's the best part of the book. Read it. The next one I have is The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Yeah. And this is read by Kate Redding. Now, funny little knowledge nugget for you. Michael Kramer, who reads this, and Kate Redding, who reads this, are married to each other. And then I do believe that they narrate the Stormlight Archives, which is a Sanderson book as well, but I haven't read those or listened to those yet. So just have to hold your horses up for that for a while. So The Host is actually a really great book, despite the fact that Stephanie Myers, who wrote Twilight, wrote this. And after reading Twilight, I kind of promised myself I would never read anything by her again. And I didn't actually know this was written by her, and I got it on audiobook. It was just sitting there, and I read the back of it. It looked interesting. I was like, cool, and I got it. And I think I was like 3/4 of the way through the book before I figured out it was by her. And I think that her niche is sci-fi writing, because it's great writing, and Kate Redding makes it even better with the narration. Basically, we are following a girl named Melanie who her body gets taken over by an alien, and actually all of society is taken over by aliens, and they're these little aliens. You can see the rim of them in our eye. Otherwise, they kind of just take over our bodies and we are their host. And the whole point of this book is that Melanie is not giving up her body willingly. So when Wanda gets put in this body, Melanie's still in there. And they're supposed to, the alien is supposed to like beat that person down and be like, no, this is my body. But Wanda's not like that, and Melanie's not giving up easily. So it's kind of a lot of internal battle. So what's really great is the voices that Kate Redding uses with that internal battle. It just makes it that much better. I honestly think if I read it, I would not appreciate it as much. But having her voice in my head when I have read this has made it so much better. Next one I'm going to talk about is Bossypants by Tina Fey. And this is actually read by Tina Fey. It is one of my favorite audiobooks, if not my favorite audiobook. I love it when she reads it. I love her voice. I feel like she adds little things, like little sarcastic notes and things, and then her tone while she's reading it. It's fantastic. Like, Tina Fey is one of the best comedians of our era. Everything she says is funny and witty and humorous, and I enjoyed the socks off of it all. And I just feel like she has a wonderful sense of timing as well, and that's what you get when you have her reading the book to you, is this incredible sense of timing. So it's not just this book that's funny, it's this book that's funny, and the timing that goes with it that's funny, and it's all funny. Everything's funny. The whole world is funny. I love this book. If you want to go on a car trip, this is like my husband and mine's go-to road trip. Listen, we listen to it every time. We can recite bits and pieces of it, yet somehow it doesn't get old. So there it is. Next one I have for you, again in no particular order, is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Now, this is narrated by Stephen Rednicki. Rednicki? I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his last name. He has this really deep baritone voice, and you would think a baritone reading a book about a little kid would be odd, but it actually fits so well with the tone of the entire book, because it is a dark book despite the fact that it's about kids. Basically, it's a futuristic society. We have already been attacked from aliens, which they call buggers. The Earth has been attacked and the Earth united, and we beat them off. So now the Earth is trying to prepare for the next attack, which they know is going to be coming, of the buggers. So they decide to train up a bunch of kids as like soldiers, basically like space soldiers, because kids have faster reflexes. So they start training these kids when they're like 6. So by the time they're like, 14, they will command a fleet of ships and be able to kill the bad guys and all that kind of stuff. And Ender is that one of those kids that's accepted to this space station school, but he is like extra small and he's like extra young, and he's a third child in a society that only allows 2. But his parents were like these super geniuses, so they were like, okay, super genius, you can have one more, because you might just make the next general of the future or whatnot. So though Ender is perfect for the school and everything like that. His problem is he is kind, and there's generally not a lot of kindness in war. Well, at least not this war. So it is an interesting book. I think it started as a short story. I read this forever ago. I've read the whole series. It's been a long time. I really did enjoy it. The first book was definitely my favorite. The others aren't as good. But Stephen Rednicki, I feel like, drew me through the whole series, and with a level of intensity that I think would be easy to miss without having him read it to you. And the last book, and one of my favorites, would be Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. And this is actually read by Davina Porter. Now, I came across this, holy stars, many, many moons ago, probably 15 years, maybe 14 years ago, something like that, is when I came across this. And it's because I had read a Meg Cabot book, and I went into the library. I'm like, I just read every book Meg Cabot ever wrote. Now what do I do? And she handed me this book, and I looked at it, and it was thick, and I said, I don't have time to read this book. I'm going on a trip, and I'm not going to have time. And she said, we'll get the audiobook. So she hands me this thick thing with like 11 CDs in it, and I take them with a Walkman. Yes, a Walkman. And I take it on my trip, and then I get through the 11th CD to find out it's only half of the book. Ah! So then I couldn't wait to get back to the library, got back to the library, and I got the second set, and I listened to it in probably like a day and a half because I wanted to know what was going to happen because it was that good of a book. Basically, this is a book that follows Claire, and she is a nurse just after World War II in England/Ireland. She's British. Scotland. Hello. And she is British. So she was she was a nurse for the British troops, probably other troops too. And her husband was a officer in the war. So the war's now over, and they got married like right before the war. So they want to have like a second honeymoon. So they go to Scotland to have a second honeymoon. While they're in Scotland, she falls through some standing stones and goes back 300 years to the 1700s. And while she's there, it's a matter of her like learning how to cope and, not get herself killed. Women back then did not have money. Women back then did not have a voice or power. They were property. So it's a matter of her being smart and how to get out of it and how to go back home. She doesn't know how to go back home. And it's just really interesting. And the historical aspect of it, I loved it. I loved the history in this book. I loved going back to the 1700s. I loved all the little details of things, like just like the smells. She describes smells of all things. And I'm like, oh, I guess things would smell bad in the 1700s. So it was really interesting. Claire is a very likable character, and Davina Porter embodies Claire to the point where like I feel like she's my friend, and I would get really mad if somebody were mean to her. And a lot of people are actually mean to her. Poor Claire. She goes through so much in this series. And it is a matter of how she wants to get back. Now, this is like a 9-book series. Well, they have 8 books. The 9th one's coming out. Who knows when. And I have read 7 of the 8 books. And I very much enjoyed these. There's a lot of romance in the first 3 books in particular. So if you do not like romance, the first 3 might be a little hard for you to swallow because there's quite a bit in there, quite a few love scenes and things like that. But I will say the second set of 3, there's a lot more historical. There's still some romance, but it's a lot more historically based. And I think I liked that better. And then I read the first one of the third set of 3. They kind of have 3-book arcs, each of them. And I think that one's going to be a little more historically based as well. And it's going to have more of the time travel in it, which is the part I also think I really, really like. So there you go. There is my long-winded 7 audiobooks. And I was so excited for this day, like I said, because I love audiobooks, but they have to be done right. A bad narrator can ruin audiobooks. So I am super excited that I can refer to you 7 new narrators that can make an audiobook just amazing. I want you to comment down below with your favorite narrator. Basically an audiobook that is better because the person who read it. I want to know because there's a good chance that I'm going to want to read it. By read it, I mean listen to it. Because I love audiobooks. Please feel free to like if you like. And you could you can do that too. You can subscribe if you'd like to subscribe. You can share. You can comment. Please comment. I really want to know your favorite audiobook. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays normally, but you will get to see me tomorrow for day 4 of 7 of 7. I will see you then. Goodbye.